On this episode of Deleted WrestleZone, we're going to talk about two events from two different promotions that took place this past weekend. We got one from New Japan Pro Wrestling, the other one is WWE. So, let's get started on this awesome episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everybody, welcome to Deleted WrestleZone, all things pro wrestling such as AEW, NXT, New Japan, Impact, NWA, many promotions, all matches, wrestlers, and championships. So before I start with the first review of these two events, as you all know, recently there's been now talk about the recent things that took place at the last WWE pay-per-view event regarding Rey Mysterio. You may have heard that he's been negotiating a contract due to the fact that he's not currently unemployed by them. He's been working with them without a contract, and there's speculations about him maybe going to AEW. We don't know yet. It's still unclear. But if I was the Vince McMahon, I would think twice, because if he goes to AEW, his name will bring a lot of attention to AEW. That's something the WWE has been trying to do for a while. And of course, there's more information going on. As you all know, if you may have been aware, 2 days ago, or was it a few days? This past weekend or so, Joey Ryan spoke out about the allegations against him. There were still more people at this point. A local promoter down here in San Diego just left a little comments on his social media saying, all this and that about that this whole apology video is nothing more than a crock of shit or something like that. There are people who don't believe his word, that he's not 100% genuine. But when I mentioned this on the previous episode, there's those who do believe that he is being genuine. But to be honest with you, I'm not here to take sides for anything. I'm just putting it out there so everybody understand what's going on in the wrestling world and all this and that. I'm still trying to find out if NWA and MLW are going to do any events with no arenas. But so far, we haven't had anything like that. But we'll see how this one goes. So right now, let's get started with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Alright, so right now we're in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They just did New Japan Road. This comes at the wake where Evil has shocked the entire wrestling world, not only in Japan, but also around the world. He betrayed Tetsuya Naito, and he won both the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the Intercontinental Champion, becoming champion. And not only that, it's been revealed he is now the leader of Bullet Club. Now, don't ask me that, but I will explain this right at the end of this segment that I'm talking about. For the first match they had was, in fact, a tag team match. We had Yuya Imurov and Suji Yota versus Satoshi Kojima and Hiroyoshi Tenzan. This one was one of those typical matches where we always get the young lions. They always are set to showcase their skills from what they learn, especially instructors like Tenzan or Kojima or Nagata. But I've always been impressed. I mean, Suji has always been one of those guys that has been making himself more well-known now, ever since his feud that took place last year. But frankly, you cannot beat the master. So Kojima and Tenzan won the match. It was a good one. I'm not saying it wasn't like awesome, but nah. Next match, we had Chaos members Ishii, Sho, Yoshihashi, and Yano versus members of the Taguchi Japan. Of course, Taguchi. They had a young lion, Gabriel Kidd, Humna, and Makabe. Uh, it was an amazing. It was a good match. Even though, as you all know, Gabriel Kidd, he's a young lion. He's uh, under still training in with the young lions in Japan. Um, the one thing the way it was like kind of interesting, as you all know, there have been alliance between both New Japan, between Chaos and the guys from Taguchi Japan for a while, with their feud against guys like the Bullet Club. Recently, they seem like they're may or may not be teaming up anymore, or whatever the scenarios. But the way this match ended was kind of interesting. Yano picked up the victory somehow. As you guys never seen Yano, how he actually is, check him out. You will love. There's a video you can find on the ROH Throwback where he faces Boom Boom Cole Cabana, Boom Boom. Yano picked up the victory. You see, he did this amazingly. He usually either gets away by giving the low blow or removing the the safety turnbuckles. But Yano picked up the victory, so it was a good match. I loved it. Next match, what is? Oh yeah, we had a tag team match. Now, this one is leading up to the feud between Suzuki-gun member El Desperado versus LIJ member, or if those who don't know what that is, if you're new at this, means Los Ingordenables de Japón, Shingo Takagi. Now, last year, Shingo Takagi, or should I say early this year, Shingo Takagi became double Never champion. Basically, he is the two title holders of the Never Openweight Championship and the six-man Never Openweight Championship. But that with the six-man, that's another later date, since Evil now joined Bullet Club. We'll get to that at some other point if there's any development. Recently, during the New Japan Cup, El Desperado has called a shot. He wants to take a title shot of Shingo Takagi's Never Openweight Championship. And he's been attacking him, and he took the title. So this one was more like a preview. So El Desperado teamed up with Doiki. So basically Suzuki-gun versus LIJ. So Shingo teamed up with Sanada. And it was a great match, but also the feud is so intense between both Takagi and El Desperado, and it was kind of insane. But of course, Desperado feels that title is meant for him. So it ended with Takagi making his kind of like a somewhat pumping bomber. It's a little clothesline that he does real hard. And then as soon as he thought that he got his title back, Desperado again took it, claiming it's his title. He thinks that he will beat Takagi for that title completely. We've seen guys like Suzuki-gun that try to get away with it. We already see that with his stablemates, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. Taking the IWGP Tag Team Championships. And of course, Zack Sabre wants the United States title, but as you all know, not a lot of the foreigners are currently in New Japan due to the pandemic. So that feud will continue. The next match, this is more a revenge match between Bullet Club members and, well, mostly from Kazuchika Okada, teaming with Hiroki Goto versus Bullet Club members Yujiro Takahashi and Gedo. Now, let me pause this about what is this a revenge thing. Let's go back to history with this. Years ago, when Bullet Club had AJ Styles as their leader, he beat Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. But he was betrayed by someone from his faction. That person was Yujiro Takahashi, which made him the first Japanese wrestler to join a foreign faction, which was Bullet Club at the time. Okada hasn't forgotten what he did. And again, during the New Japan Cup Tournament Finals, he got in the way this time, costing him a chance of the cup, but also a chance to regain the title. And of course, Takahashi reminded him what he did. Reminded him he cost him twice. And of course, who could forget Gedo, who betrayed Okada when Okada told him that he doesn't need him anymore. He expected him to be part of the Chaos faction, but Gedo betrayed him, as Rocky Romero called him, Fredo. So, this was an interesting match, but mostly, like, Okada still wants a piece of Yujiro. He hasn't forgotten what he did to him all those years ago and what he did at the New Japan Cup Finals. But it was a great match. I love this feud because it fuels that Okada realized he didn't do anything to take out Yujiro back then. I think he might have felt it was a mistake. He should have gotten his revenge against him for costing him the title. But this time, he now cost him an opportunity to regain that title. Now that the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental is now with Bullet Club, led by Evil. But it was a great win. Goto picked up the victory by putting Gedo in his main move and won the victory. So Chaos won this battle. But it's far from over between Okada and Yujiro. So I'm assuming this is going to be an interesting feud to see. Next match we had, what was it? Okay, yeah, we had Master Wato being accompanied by Tenzan, teaming with Kota Ibushi, who else? Hiroshi Tanahashi, and of course, Yuji Nagata, facing off members of Suzuki-gun, the current IWGP Tag Team Champions, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., along with Kanemaru, and of course, the King, Minoru Suzuki. But as you know, Taichi is a very cocky bastard. He likes to get away with things. Now that he's showing off his tag team titles, even though he hasn't held a title that long, he was the Never Open Win champion, but he lost it to Goto. But now he's being cocky with this. But this match was like a long-standing feud between two factions. Now, we do see Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. still gloating at both Tanahashi and Ibushi for beating them at Dominion for those titles. But this rivalry between those two is far from over. But the biggest thing that happened was two things. Let's just start with one that led to the victory on this one. Suzuki-gun and Kanemaru took out Master Wato because he was doing everything in his power. But Kanemaru went crazy, wanted to take him out. He thinks that him having Tenzan on his side is not enough. But he beat him. He tried to prove him that he's better than him. But he picked a victory on this one. Suzuki-gun took the battle, but it's far from over from both factions, especially with Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. against Ibushi and Tanahashi. But the biggest thing that happened at the post-match was Yuji Nagata and Minoru Suzuki still going at it. These guys are legends in their own right in the past. These guys are the top veterans of both their time. I would love to see those two face off. I don't know if you guys want to. The way they were fighting, they strongly hate each other. I love those type of feuds. So that's pretty much it. Now the main event was LIJ members Bushi, Tetsuya Naito, and Hiromu Takahashi versus Bullet Club members Taiji Ishimori, Dick Togo, and of course the double champion himself, Evil. This was still far from over. Hiromu is mad that Evil betrayed Naito. As you must know, there's a reason to that. Before the pandemic happened, Hiromu was promised a chance of the double title against Naito. You see, every year they have a tradition where it doesn't matter who. Like, if you're in Bullet Club, if you're the champion, you must face someone who's in the junior heavyweight division. And now it's like a standing tradition that they normally put out. And that always been the case. But now that that Evil is the champion, he wants a piece of him. Now Evil thinks of himself that there's no way in the world he's going to beat him. There's a reason why Hiromu's called the time bomb, because he could explode at any given time. So frankly, thanks to the interference tactics by Bullet Club, Evil picked up the victory again on Hiromu, but this feud between those two is far from over. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys haven't seen it, go on New Japan Live on Demand and you can see all of it. There's an upcoming episode coming up on the 25th for them. So right now, let's move on to WWE Extreme Rules. Alright, so right now we're here for WWE Extreme Rules 2020. This event wasn't like your typical type of Extreme Rules type of tradition. Like, we all know Extreme Rules is like anything goes types. So let's just go from start to finish to go. It starts out with WWE SmackDown Tag Team titles in a tables match between New Day's Kofi Kingston and BE versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Cesaro. Now, this is one of those feuds that Cesaro and Nakamura have been aiming for to become tag team titles. Somehow they were always been up ahead against New Days every single time. It was a good tables match. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed that because, like, if you guys are not fans of ECW, then you guys know what I'm talking about. But it was great. There were moments like they try to stop each other. One team member cannot allow the other to be put to a table, but the victory goes to Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, who finally became the new WWE SmackDown Tag Team titles, putting Kofi Kingston through a table in a powerbomb setting. So, title has been exchanged on that one. Next match, we had the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley versus Nikki Cross. Now, Nikki Cross has been attacked on every angle by both Bayley and Sasha. She's trying to obtain gold for the first time in her career. I'm not sure if she got it in NXT. I'm not sure. I gotta look it up. But anyway, they've been attacked by Bayley mostly. And it's kind of crazy how Nikki Cross knows she has the confidence, but she loses herself at some point. But probably before the match, she had Alexa Bliss and the Kabuki Warriors giving her a good motivation. So that is kind of crazy how it turns out. I'm like, it's so funny. But sadly, it didn't go her way. Thanks to the interference of Sasha, she gave Bayley those boss rings and knocked her out like that. So basically, she retained the Women's SmackDown Championship, as always. But that's how it's always been between those two. Sorry, my cat's passed by. Let's see. The next thing we have is a segment from the Firefly Funhouse. You know how Bray Wyatt has been going crazy, with this whole feud between both him and Braun Strowman that dates back all the way to the Wyatt family. But it's kind of interesting how this one is. Then we have another segment. Originally, it was supposed to be Apollo Crews to face MVP for the United States Championship, while MVP presented a new title of the United. He claims that he won by forfeit, that Apollo Crews is not there. It didn't happen that way. Basically, he's like, I don't know if they're acting like that whole thing with Moose, with the TNA World Title. But yeah. Now we got the eye for an eye match. Now, but before I moved on, I think some of you may have talked about this on social media, that some of you think the whole thing with the eye is real. If you guys look closely, it looks fake. But I think some of you had mixed reviews about that, and this is the match that many people are start talking about Ray, about his career being in WWE. I know there is a WWE are tried to negotiate a new deal with Ray, but Ray um, kind of wanted more money out of this one, so it's still they're trying to retire him or something like that. But I don't know if he's gonna retire from the ring, maybe end his WWE career there and move forward somewhere else. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm not gonna go too much into details on this one, but I will get to the end where Seth Rollins won. But the best part, he puked. He's like I think he didn't expect that for a minute. Like he didn't expect what just happened. And I think many of the social media people, many of the wrestling news outlets are talking about it. Like the puking part was kind of the best. I'm like, I have to say the same thing, you know. So next match we had the Raw's Women's Championship, Asuka versus who's the current champion versus Sasha. So yeah, we had to deal with those two again. But this match was another disaster to be fine to make sure that Bayley's best friend gets a title. So this one, I'm going to skip ahead anyway. Bayley somehow was able to take away the ref's shirt, become the ref to ensure Bayley won the match. So now Sasha has two titles. The women's tag team titles and the Raw's championship match title. So it was like I don't know. I wasn't too much sold on this one, you know. With Bayley and Nikki Cross, maybe, but this one, no. Next match we had a WWE Championship match between Drew McIntyre and of course Dolph Ziggler. Now, for a while, Dolph Ziggler has been asking for. He felt that the McIntyre owed him a favor, but he didn't. So he gave up the stipulation. What's gonna be? He said it's gonna be Extreme Rules only. Dolph Ziggler, meaning he's allowed to use any weapon that can use the tables, the ladders, chairs, whatever's lying around. But Drew doesn't mind. I mean, come on. He knows exactly what he's getting himself to because he knows. So Dolph Ziggler told him if he even runs away from it, he will be losing the title. It's all in writing or something. I don't know. But frankly, it didn't end Dolph Ziggler's way. Basically, he did that Shawn Michaels thing, and then he gave him the Claymore while Dolph Ziggler was about to do the super kick on him, or as WWE called it, swing ching music. It didn't go exactly that way. So Drew retained the titles. So practically that's the end for that one. Then we got Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt's swap match. To be honest with you, I wasn't sold on this one too much. I wasn't. It didn't feel like the same thing what we've seen with the previous matches, like the Boneyard and the Firehouse Funhouse. I don't know. It didn't feel to me right on that one. But I think Braun Strowman won that match. But we got the return of the Fiend. So that's pretty much it what we got for that. So I hope you guys enjoyed these episodes. As you must know, today it's Tuesday. So today is July 20th. No, July 21st. I think the 20th. Well, anyway, it's Tuesday. So it's going to be Tuesday Wrestling. So we got AEW Dark and Impact Wrestling. We're going to watch the aftermath of what happened in Slammiversary with title exchanges, return of former Impact Wrestling stars that were part of the recent release wrestlers from WWE. We're going to see all of that today. So I may put the episode later on tonight. So if you guys are asleep or still awake, you can watch that. So as for now, I must bid all of you adieu. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Wear a face cover. Goodbye. Mwah. and have a nice day. Bang.